So now that you've signed up for Repl, what you should see is up here the Teams for Education, just the landing page. What I'll tell you is it's my suggestion that you use a folder structure for everything. I'll demo that in just a second. But what I mean is have a chapter 2 folder, a chapter 3 folder, a chapter 4 folder, and don't just let Repl assign to you a random name for your files. Actually go through and name them like chapter ch underscore 2 underscore ex underscore 5 or something. But with a good naming convention comes the opportunity to reuse your code. One of the things that I'm going to encourage you to do again and again, either here verbally, visually, in things like this or things like the podcasts, or with actual assignments, is going to be you have written part of this code before. Reuse it. Part of being a developer is understanding that somewhere out there, somebody's already made a wheel. I don't have to make another one. So do take me up on that suggestion. Over in the upper left hand corner, I try not to reverse everything for you guys here. You see the little Repl icon. What we want to do is go to My Repls. And I'm going to say got it. Now here's all the stuff, and you can see that there's a lot of stuff in mine. Yours clearly will not have this much cruft in there. This one, this particular account rather, I just use as a demo, so it's non-destructive. The other account where I really do have all the files and the folder structures in there, that one is where all of these demos come from. So what I would suggest doing is coming over here to the middle and saying new folder. And what I'm going to call this is CIS276, because if you're with us for long enough, you might take more courses in development that use Repl. And I'm going to call this chapter 2. You can also have folders within folders. I'm just doing this as quickly as I can. So we click on chapter 2. I can either put a new folder in here or a new Repl. So I'm going to go ahead and do a new Repl just so we can see what that looks like. So I'm clicking on new Repl. I'm hitting C++, and here it gives me a random name. And this random name won't mean anything. So I want to say chapter 2, exercise 5, although I have no idea what chapter 2 exercise 5 is. So I'm going to go ahead and say create REPL, and boom, we've got our Repl window. Things to know while I'm here in Repl. Over on the far left hand side, because everything is reversed, it looks like, for my screen recording. Over on the far left hand side, what you will see is files. You can drag and drop, and that's going to be important, not this week, not actually this month, but later on down the line. You can drag and drop files into that section of the window, and they'll automatically be uploaded for use with your C++, your code. So that's going to be positive. In the middle window here is main.cpp. That's where we're going to live for the time being with our code. On the right hand side, that's this way. I'm very confused. Yeah, it's this way. It's the big black portion of the window you see here. That is the output console. So whatever we do in our main.cpp, for the time being, it's going to be main.cpp. We're going to see the output happen over there on the right hand side. You'll notice right here in the middle, I've got run. So if I go ahead and click on that, we have to give it a moment. The shell has to actually up and spin up and work. So it's not instantaneous, but it's pretty close. I'll say in other courses we teach here at Rock Valley, Java comes to mind. The nature of a Java Virtual Console is that it takes some time. Here, actually in chapter 3 and 5, when we get to repetition and decision, we'll actually make it take some time to spin up. But for the time being, it should happen really very, very quickly. So if you're waiting more than 5 or 10 seconds, go ahead and hit refresh on the page or stop, which this button would turn to stop. Hit stop and run it again just in case something has gone horribly wrong. And you can see here in the output console, you can see hello world. Hello world is a result of what's happening here. Now, if this doesn't look like anything to you, it's because you came here to the videos first and you didn't go through and read the book and you didn't go through and listen to the podcasts beforehand. You're not going to find an easy road to success if you don't really embrace reading the book, and at the very least partially embrace going back and listening to some of those podcasts. That's where if this was an in-person class, I wouldn't be reading to you from the book. I'd be telling you things about things that you read in the book. That's what those are there for. These videos here in the demo section are so that you can see everything running and how it is that we'll actually apply it and put it together. So over here in the middle window with main, you'll see we have the include IO stream. That's our input output stream. That's what's happening over there on the right hand side of the console. Int main, this is our program. These 3 lines are all of it. We're going to see we don't always need this standard : C out. If we were using namespace, we could get around that. And this would be our output statement right there, is hello world. Now, what I'll tell you is not everything always goes properly. So for example, if I forget to include the std : here, you'll notice that little red line under my cout statement. This mirrors the little red lines that you would see in Microsoft Word when you type a word incorrectly. That's the same deal here. That means the compiler, the real-time compiler, is finding that there's probably going to be an error with what's happening there. Now, when I hit run, this has to compile. Again, if compile doesn't sound familiar, it's because you skipped chapters 1 and chapters 2. Chapters 1 and 2. Go back and take a listen to those. Now, over in the right-hand side window here, the output console, you can see we've got messaging that we didn't see before. This is important. It tells you where the error is. It may not say it in the most plain of languages, but it really does tell you what the issue is. So it says right here, main.cpp, that's main.cpp like you see it right here. Line 4 and character 3. Blank space, that starts character 3. It tells you where to look. Error, use of undeclared identifier. Cout. Did you mean std : cout? And the only answer to this is why, yes, compiler, that is what I meant. So you can go ahead and actually put in that std : cout. So I highlighted it in the output console. I am highlighting it here in my code window. I am pasting it there. And you'll never guess what happens if I hit run here. It didn't have the little red squiggle marks under my cout statement. So that was probably going to run. Now, let me tell you, just because something runs, that does not mean it's running correctly. It just means that you didn't step in anything as far as a compilation error goes. We're going to see that as we go through the chapters, the demo materials here. Errors come in 2 flavors: the ones that stop C++ from running and the ones that you discover later on. Those are the harder ones to deal with. So at any rate, this is what Repl looks like. And when you come back to our course shell, for example, you're still going to see Firefox can't open this page. Chrome had a little bit different of a message. I'm going to refresh that just for kicks and giggles. But when you open the site in a new window, so long as you are signed in with your Repl account, you're going to be able to fork the code and go ahead and interact with it. So that's the most of the steepness of the learning curve for Repl, which is fantastic. When we used Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code, there were so many hoops for me to have you jump through just in order to get your first 3 lines of code for Hello World outputted. It didn't feel for weeks like it was worth it. Right now, with Repl, you sign up and you hit run and you're pretty much ready to go. So Repl is fantastic. That's how you're going to do your homework. There's a video on that later. That's how we're going to do these demos. There's millions of videos, it feels like, on that later. And it's overall a better, easier, more rapid system for getting this done than Visual Studio, Visual Studio Code, Xcode, or put any of your IDE environments in here.